policy. Don't cancel or let your policy lapse without finding out what it's worth. Visit CoventryDirect.com to find out if your policy...
Repeat champ since 2007. Coach Dan Hurley's 12 straight tournament wins, all by double digits, is a tournament record. I caught up with Coach as he stepped off the court as a champion yet again.
Just incredible performance to beat a team like Purdue the way we did. Just incredible.
And you dominated every team along the way. How? Why?
We're the best program in the country right now. We've got all the right players.
Hold on. You need to get that, Coach. What do you have to say to all the fans watching back home?
Oh, I know they can't wait for us to get back. We'll see them at the airport. We'll see them in Gamble. And I cannot wait for the parade.
Now, Donovan Clingan is projected to be a first-round pick in the upcoming draft, and he's had a tough journey, Kate. He wears number 32 in honor of his mom, who passed away in 2018. She was an outstanding player in her own right. Our John Berman asked Donovan about what mom would think about him now winning 2 national titles.
I worked hard, and I tried to make it to a very high level, and I was able to make history. I know she's smiling down on me. I know she's happy for me, and I wish she could be part of it, but like I said, I know she's proud of me.
Back on campus. Fans back on campus in Storrs, Connecticut, elated as they celebrated the school's 6th national title since 1999. It's been a quarter century of dominance, Kate. The last 2 tournaments, UConn has beaten their opponents by an average of 20 points. And against non-conference opponents, they have a record of 33-1. All of those wins by double digits as well. When I asked Coach Hurley this week how he would describe the mental makeup of his team, he used the word relentless. There's only one program, Kate, that was ever able to pull off a three-peat. That was UCLA about half a century ago. Now UConn will get their chance.
I love it. Relentless.
Relentless. And by the way, I can read lips. That UConn student was saying, jolly good, well done.
Super fantastic.
He wasn't saying something naughty.
Different. Nope, right. Not at all.
Coy Wire, thank you so much.
Thank you, Coy.
And thank you all for joining us. This has been CNN News Central. CNN Newsroom with Jim Acosta begins now.
Good morning. You are live in the CNN Newsroom. I'm Jim Acosta in Washington, and we begin with breaking news out of Michigan. The parents of Oxford school shooter Ethan Crumbley are in court face-to-face with their son's victims ahead of their sentencing. James and Jennifer Crumbley were both found guilty of 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter after their teenage son brutally murdered 4 of his classmates back in 2021. They are the first parents to be held responsible for a school shooting committed by their child. You're looking at pictures coming from inside the courtroom as we speak. CNN's Gene Cazares joins us now. Gene, tell us what's happening in court right now and about this prospect that we're going to be seeing in just a few moments here of the parents of these victims coming face to face with Ethan Crumbley's parents. That is going to be an incredibly emotional moment.
That will be the emotional moment because the parents of the 4 students that Ethan Crumbley gunned down in Oxford High School in November of 2021, that the parents were charged and convicted on themselves because of gross negligence. They will come forward and describe how their life has changed. They may address James and Jennifer Crumbley on what they did as parents to help cause all of this. But there has been contention in that courtroom this morning because the defense attorneys are arguing in this precedent-setting sentencing, because never before in this country have parents of a mass school shooter not only been charged and convicted of the homicides themselves, but now for sentencing, because the prosecution is arguing aggravating factors. There were 4 students that were killed. There was an intent to kill more students. There was the fact that there was an aspect of using that gun and intending to kill. But the defense is saying, no, that's not correct here. There was a continuum of gross negligence. That's what the jury convicted them on. We agree with that. But once that gun got in the hands of Ethan Crumbley at that school and he pulled that trigger, those are independent acts. He decided to kill 4. He decided that he wanted to kill as many as he could. He intended to do injury to others, and that should not be put upon the parents and reflected in the sentencing. So it's an argument, and we'll see what the judge does with this.
Yeah, and Gene, I mean, I just wonder if, and the control room can tell me something different here, if we should listen in at some moment. If you think it's important to listen in at some moment, let us know. We do think that those victim impact statements are going to start within the next several minutes. But Gene, what about authorities asking that there be a no contact order between James and Jennifer and their son, and that remain in place? It's sort of remarkable. I guess what they're asking for here is that the members of this family that have been tried and convicted here can't talk to one another.
This is fascinating, Jim, because this has become a constitutional issue this morning, because you're watching them. They are seated together in that courtroom. This is the first time they've been in the courtroom together in months. They haven't seen each other. There has been a non-contact order since 2021 when they were arrested. They can't write to each other. They can't write to their son. They cannot communicate in any way. And the pre-sentence investigation, the probation department recommended that continue. The defense is saying, wait a minute, this is a violation of your constitutional liberty to be a family. At least they should be able in prison to write to each other to see how each other is doing. And there has been zero contact. So the judge wants the prosecution to respond to this. It was a recommendation from the probation department, and then the judge will make that ruling. But once they're in the hands of the Department of Corrections, Jim, they're the ones that call the shots. They're the ones that will determine. And the judge did say that she learned from the prison that James Crumbley and Ethan, they are considered enemies at this point. And so that very likely there will be no contact, and they'll be in separate penal institutions, but still that no contact could endure.
All right, Gene, and so many communities across this country have been affected by these mass shootings, and I imagine a lot of families who have been impacted by this outside of Michigan are going to be paying attention to this, because we're going to see those victim impact statements shortly. We'll bring some of that to you when it happens. In the meantime, Gene Cazares, thank you very much. We're following several other developments in the legal cases swirling around Donald Trump and his efforts to delay them. Special counsel Jack Smith is calling on the Supreme Court to reject Trump's sweeping claims of presidential immunity. As of now, that case is due to be argued before the High Court in 2 weeks. And in New York, a state appeals court has shut down Trump's latest efforts to delay his hush money trial. The court refused a change of venue, so jury selection remains on track for Monday. That would make Trump the first former president to face a criminal trial. There's a lot to unpack. Let me go to CNN's Kara Scannell in New York for us. Kara, what about these efforts expected to delay Monday's start of jury selection? Might we see more of those? I imagine we'll see them throw everything but the kitchen sink at this between now and next Monday.
I think that's a fair bet, Jim. I mean, there was a blitz of activity over the past week with Trump making several attempts, both at the trial court level and now at the appellate level, to try to delay and derail this trial. Yesterday's motion, they wanted to postpone the trial so they could argue that there should be a change of venue, saying that the New York market has been saturated. Prosecutors opposed that, saying this is an international story, and the importance here is focusing on jury selection and making sure that they see an unbiased, fair, and impartial jury. The judge quickly agreed with that, and that effort is now done. But Trump's team has several other efforts underway. They're trying to get the judge overseeing the trial to push off it because of the publicity argument. That seems like that's a real long shot now in light of yesterday's ruling. They're also trying to get the judge to recuse himself. And today we are expecting some oral arguments as they appeal the gag order that was put in this case to stop the former president from making comments about the judge's daughter, family members of the prosecution team, any of the witnesses in this case. Trump's team is appealing that today. We're expecting arguments. The details of that still remain fluid at this time, but I think you're right. This is not expected to be the last effort by Trump's team as they try to stop this trial from happening now just 6 days away, Jim.
And Kara, when the selection process gets underway, what do we think the jurors are going to be asked?
So the focus of jury selection in this questionnaire is to find people who might have opinions about the former president or about the prosecution or the case, but who can be fair and impartial. So there are about 42 questions that the judge has outlined that he will ask the jurors. Some of them are as basic as, how long have you lived in New York? Where do you live in the city? What do you do for a living? Where do you get your news? Others are more focused on Donald Trump and the specifics of this case to try to find anyone who might have a hidden bias, because that is of utmost importance to the judge. So he's going to ask questions of, have you ever worked for the Trump organization, the Trump campaign, or the administration? Have you attended any pro-Trump rallies or anti-Trump rallies? Are you members of any fringe groups such as the Proud Boys or QAnon or Antifa? Trying to find people on both possible sides here. One thing that the judge made clear is that he's not going to ask anyone about their party affiliation, who they've donated to, or who they voted for, because he said the politics are not on trial here. It's not whether or not you like Donald Trump or don't like Donald Trump. It's about whether you can be fair and impartial. And that is what the judge said he will make very clear in controlling any follow-up questions that either side wants to ask. Jim?
All right, Kara Scannell outside the courthouse in Manhattan for us. Thank you. Now to the backlash over former President Donald Trump's latest stance on abortion. His record on the issue has been somewhat of a moving target. Over the last 25 years, he has shifted his stance at least 13 times, saying he's, quote, pro-choice in 1999, pro-life in 2015, and in 2016 even urging, quote, some form of punishment for women who get abortions. Now Trump is getting some backlash from anti-abortion advocates for saying on Monday that the issue should be left up to the states. His former vice president, Mike Pence, calls that a slap in the face. The president of a prominent anti-abortion group is slamming it as a total eclipse of reason. And Republican Senator Lindsey Graham says Trump's position is a, quote, mistake. That drew the ire of Trump, who accused his ally of doing a, quote, disservice to the party and playing into Democrats' hands.
These guys never learn. They never learn. The Democrats want to make the election about abortion. It's a very controversial thing. But everybody wanted it back in the states. We took a great victory, and guys like Lindsey Graham, they make it controversial, and it's not controversial. It goes back to the states where all legal scholars on both sides want it.
All right, let's discuss with Democratic strategist Chuck Rocha and former Republican Congressman Joe Walsh. Guys, thank you very much for being with me this morning. Chuck, let me go to you first. You're here in the studio with me. Trump has changed his position on this a lot of times, as we just mentioned a few moments ago. That has President Biden telling supporters in Chicago last night this, quote, no one trusts Donald Trump on this issue. How much of a winning issue is that going to be with suburban and independent voters when we've seen time and again in states like Kansas, Ohio, voters are coming out in droves on this?
It's a really important issue. I think that's exactly why you're seeing this happen. This is why you see him all over the place. He's chasing this cat, and he can't get it in the corner because he knows it's going to have a big impact. In race after race that I'm working in the suburbs of Philadelphia, Milwaukee, and in these battleground states are where these suburban voters, mainly Democratic women who are married to Republican men, are going to make the difference in this election. They care deeply about this, a lot like a lot of Democrats and Republicans and independents in places like Kansas. You just saw it get on the ballot in Florida, of all places. This is going to be a major centerpiece of the election. That's why you see him doing exactly what he's doing now.
Yeah, I mean, it could put Florida in play. And Joe, I mean, Trump has made a number of controversial statements about abortion. Obviously, for as dishonest as he is, he can be remarkably candid. Here's what he